Communication Director 4 webinar, where we're pleased to announce the availability of Communication Director 4 and some of the improvements we've made. My name is Audrey Brislin, and I'm a Product Manager here at Forward Advantage, and I'll be the moderator of today's webinar. Our speakers today are Michael Henriksen, Director of Marketing and Product Management at Forward Advantage, and Janine Austin, who's the Product Manager for Communication Director. There's a lot of people on the line, so we've gone ahead and muted your phones. But if you do have a question, please enter it in the question panel on your screen, and we're going to do our best to answer as many as we can at the end of the webinar. So during our webinar today, we want to give you a brief overview of Communication Director 4 and some of the high-level features and benefits, as well as some exciting capabilities that we've added. We'll also review next steps and leave some time for Q&A at the end. So with that, I'll pass it over to Michael.
Okay, great. Thanks, Audrey. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us this morning. Some of you may have seen a sneak peek of Communication Director 4 either at Muse or in the preview webinars that we did some months back. What you're going to see is some additional improvements that we've made since the last time that you saw the product. And then if you haven't been exposed at all to the changes that we've made with CDS4, you're going to notice a pretty big difference, especially in the look and the feel of the product. During the beta phase that we did in late 2013, we got some great feedback from our test sites. Some of that actually led us to make additional enhancements to the user interface, as well as to add several new features to the product before officially releasing it. We did this for a number of reasons, the least of which is that we really value customer feedback, your feedback about our products, and we want to make sure that they meet and hopefully exceed what you're looking for in them. So speaking of feedback, the new version, the enhancements that we've made to the product are just in time. Any of you on the line who read the Meditech L, there was a thread about Communication Director, I think it was about 2 weeks back now, and some of the comments there were spot on just in terms of the older versions of the product. And so we're glad that our timing, I think, is pretty good here with CDS4. A number of the enhancements that we've made should really address some of the concerns that were brought up in that feedback. And of course, we're always looking for input on our products in whatever form we can get that. All right, so before we kind of get into things, I want to make sure that you guys know we've completely overhauled the Communication Director system platform. So we've made it a browser-based product that increases flexibility when it comes to integration with our other solutions, among a number of other things. One of the biggest things that you're going to see is that it has a new look to it. So again, we've listened to a lot of customer feedback that we've received about our product, and we've designed a user interface that has a much cleaner look and feel to it. As I said earlier, if you saw the beta version at Muse or you were on the earlier webinars that we did a few months back, what you'll see today is that we've actually changed the color scheme to be easier for users to read. And that was one of the big ahas that we got from the beta process. The color scheme that we had prior made it a little bit difficult for users to read, so we've made some enhancements there. The second major thing really centers around improved performance in both the system throughput as well as in the database. There are also the added efficiencies of queuing and less memory overhead. We've also added additional ways to exchange data, so we have the flexibility for many customers to add on Data Express to their Communication Director system. And for those of you on the line who are not familiar with Data Express, it's a solution that we've sold separately up to now, but it allows you to automatically route and exchange HL7 discrete data with provider EMRs. So overall, we really feel like we've increased the value of the Communication Director system and improved its usability, as you're going to see in the webinar today. So to set the stage for how we've enhanced the platform, here's a simplified graphic of it and its capabilities. Some of you have probably seen some versions of this in the past. And so although Communication Director manages inbound and outbound faxes, it can also automatically route reports in a large variety of ways beyond fax. So network file drop, printer, FTP, SFTP, email. We can even do emails following the direct messaging protocol. And then, what you're seeing here on the diagram for the first time then is Data Express. down below. And again, if you don't currently use Data Express and exchanging HL7 data is something that your hospital needs or requires, then this enhanced feature can really streamline and expand the use of your Communication Director System platform. The vast majority of those calling in today to the webinar actually have Communication Director already. So this is a great first step for facilities that have a couple of physician practices that they're looking to send and receive HL7 orders and results with. Some of you may actually be using another engine to do this now, but the simplicity of adding on Data Express to your CDS platform may be compelling, at least for you, to evaluate it, see if it makes sense for your organization. So I commented quite a bit about the new look and feel, and just to kind of give you a sense for how things look visually, what you see up on the screen, again, for most of you who are Communication Director customers, this is a screen that you're very familiar with in terms of the old version. And I guess this is the revealing moment. So here is what Communication Director 4 looks like. And again, you can see it's browser-based. It's completely redesigned. The visual improvements that we've made go beyond just how the product looks. It really has led to improved performance and usability. So just to orient you a bit in terms of what you're seeing here with the new UI, we've combined the three applications that are now highlighting in a yellow circle. So they're at the top: System Activity Monitor, Routing, and Desktop Fax. And so these are all now available in one browser. It simplifies the user experience. It reduces the need for separate applications and installations. Overall, that should have a positive impact on IT costs. So the applications are positioned up top for ease of navigation. Users will only see the applications that they have permission to view. And then moving between the applications is literally as simple as a mouse click. So hopefully you can see me moving the mouse on the screen. If I wanted to go to routing, all I would do is click on it. Obviously, these are static images in a slide deck, but it's really easy to go back and forth between applications. On the left-hand side of the screen that I'm highlighting now in the yellow circle, then are the navigation bar. The navigation bar for the application that you've selected to display will show you what choices that you have. So in this case, you see highlighted in blue is System Activity Monitor. So the choices on the navigation bar that you have then are dashboard, deliveries, scheduler, etc. And what's highlighted here is deliveries. So one of the challenges that we had in prior versions of Communication Director was that you had to right-click on an item to bring up a menu, and then do that repeatedly to bring up additional information and drill down to kind of get to where you were looking for. So with CDS4, we have flattened the views throughout the application. So what this means is that you can view a lot of the details for any particular item right on the view that you see here in your browser window simply by selecting an item. So the example that's highlighted here, you can see a different shade of blue that's highlighted. And below that, there's item details, delivery details. There's a history of that particular delivery. And then in the lower right is a preview pop-up window that Janine's going to speak about in a little bit. But there's a lot more information about your delivery in this case. And again, this carries throughout the Communication Director System platform that we demonstrate a lot of additional information that you can see. One of the added features that we have in this product as well are page controls. So the page controls allow you to easily change your views. You can resize the details within a view however you wish. So if for some reason you wanted to increase the size of delivery details, for example, you can do that. You can drag and increase the size of it, shrink down other things. And the great thing is once you log out of the application, if you log back in, it's going to remember the way that you've kind of configured your view. So we kind of want to go through briefly anyway some of the key changes that we've made to Communication Director 4 in a little bit more detail here and why you may want to consider upgrading. So for that, I'm going to hand things over to Janine Austin, our product manager for Communication Director, and she's going to get into a bit more detail. So Janine, let me go ahead and turn the presentation over to you here. All right, you should have control.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. So we're not going to go into the live system today because the webinar really is meant to give you a short overview and to cover the high-level enhancements and changes we've made. But we would like to encourage you to reach out to your sales representative to schedule a demo if you have additional questions or want to see some more details. Okay. So historically, our users have had challenges with the lack of access that they've had to Communication Director. And this is, as you know, because you had to log on to a specific workstation for access. So we understood that pain point, and we wanted to address this. And so in CDS4, we've provided you with more flexible authentication. So what this means is that your users can access the system anytime and anywhere as long as they're connected to the network. We also have given you access to multiple Communication Director servers now on different domains from one browser. So to navigate to a different server, you simply use the URL. So it's a much simpler process. I wanted to mention that these changes really did have a big impact on our beta sites and added a lot of value. So having a browser-based system and browser-based access was able to provide them with more flexibility and improve their workflow. It also improved their users' ability to monitor remotely. Another big benefit to them was the fact that users no longer have to log off their workstation so someone else can log on. A couple of other things I want to mention are that user management has not changed. So it's still based on Active Directory. And since CDS4 is now SQL Server based, you're going to notice improvements to your database performance. Okay. So with CDS4, we enhanced desktop fax. And we did this because obviously we wanted to improve your workflow and we wanted to provide you with greater flexibility. So the user settings and your phone books are now server-based. And what this means for your users is that those settings and phone books are going to follow them as they move to different workstations. We've also made the process of creating and sending faxes simpler and easier for you. So you'll notice in this particular screenshot, we're in desktop fax, and on the left navigation bar, you'll see that we're in the send view. So if you want to send a fax, you're going to simply go in and select the individual you want to send the fax to. So you'll notice I can have my personal phone book or shared phone book. Select the individual. Then I'm going to go in and choose a cover page. So now I'm going to come down to the selected section of the screen, and I'm going to choose a cover page for this particular individual. I then, before I can send a fax, obviously I'm going to have to choose my fax content. So I'm going to come down to the fax content section, and I'm going to select the content or document that I want to fax. Now, before you send that off, you also have the option to preview the cover page. So you'll notice on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a preview section. And if I click on that arrow, it's going to bring up a preview of the cover page for me that I can view before I send this off. Okay? Once you've completed that or taken a look at your cover page, you now have the option to send the fax. So in the bottom right-hand corner, you go in and you click the arrow to send the fax. I talked about a minute ago the cover page option. We wanted to give users more options and flexibility with the tool. So one of the things we did was to add the ability to select who gets a cover page. So when a user, you could send a fax to multiple individuals, and they would all be listed here. And then you could determine that maybe you want to send a cover page to this individual, but you don't want to include a cover page for this individual. So again, we've added some more flexibility to the product. So another issue was in the past, you didn't have the ability to be able to simply create separate phone books for vendors and distribution lists that you could easily manage and share out. So with CDS4, we wanted to create a simpler process for this, and so we've added a new feature called Workgroup Phone Book. So you'll notice there's an icon highlighted by a yellow circle on the screen up here, and that's our Workbook Phone Book icon. Now, any user that has access to this feature is going to be able to create a workbook phone book. So if you have a list of vendors that you want to manage or distribution lists, a user can go in and create those phone books. And they're also going to be able to delegate rights to users. So they can determine who's going to be able to access this phone book. And they're also going to be able to determine the level of access users are going to have to it. Okay? The beauty as well is that you only have to create the phone book once, and then you're going to have the ability to share it out. So something that's going to save you time, but not only that, it's going to ensure that your phone books are consistent and up to date. So in Desktop Facts, we've also wanted to create more efficiencies. So we wanted to make the process of looking at the status of recent faxes simpler, and so we've given you the ability to look at that in one window. So the beauty of having a browser-based system is that you're able to send a fax and walk away. So users no longer have to sit at their workstation and ensure the fax went through before they log off. So this is something that's going to save your staff valuable time. You'll notice that in the screen here, I have a current session and I have a recent history. And I'm now in the status view. So once you send the fax, it's going to bring you into the status view. Okay. Something that our beta sites really appreciated was having this information all on one page. Okay. So in your current version of Desktop Fax, when your user logs off, they don't have the ability to go in and see a history of their faxes unless they conduct a search to do that. Okay. In CDS4, they come to the status view and they can see a history of their faxes, and they don't have to conduct a search. Another benefit here is that once they come in and bring the history up, they can right-click on any of these items, and they can choose to redeliver any deliveries that may have failed. Okay. The recent history again is going to be comprised of any deliveries that you made that may have happened in a prior browser session. Okay. The current session above will display anything that has occurred or anything you've sent or is in process from the current browser session that you're in. Okay. All right. So System Activity Monitor. Any of your users that have monitor, supervising, or configuration security role are going to have access to System Activity Monitor. And when they log on to CDS4, the first application they're going to come to is System Activity Monitor, and the first view they're going to be brought to is this dashboard view. So the dashboard view is something new that we added to be able to provide you with a summary view of your Communication Director system performance. So you're going to see there's a system status section there, for example, and you're going to be able to view statistics such as uptime, database space, memory usage, and even your disk space status. Now, when you look at this information, if you want to update this and bring in more real-time information or changes, all you need to do is to click on the refresh button. So you'll notice once I click on that, the database information updated. Okay. So moving on in System Activity Monitor to the deliveries view. So just as before, you're going to be able to view all types of deliveries and statuses. But again, with this flattened view, if you want to see details on a particular delivery, you're just going to click on that delivery, and the information is going to appear dynamically below. So if I click on a particular fax, as you can see, you're going to have item details, delivery details, history, and a preview for that. If I click on another delivery, the information will update automatically. Okay. Another thing that we've changed is our deliveries are now paginated. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see highlighted by the yellow circle that it says pages 15 of 22. What this really means for you, and the benefit for you, is that the load time for large data sets is now going to be much quicker for you, which again should hopefully help with your workflow. Okay. We've also built in drop-down filters. And these are going to be used to narrow down what the results that you're viewing or the deliveries that you're trying to view. So let's say, for example, a user just wants to look at the deliveries for the past month. They're going to click on the filter, and they're going to be able to come down here and choose this month. Once they choose that, click on it and choose it, the information is automatically going to be updated for them. Another new feature that we're excited about is something called our preview pop-out window. So on the bottom right side of the screen, you'll see next to preview is an icon highlighted by the circle again, and that's preview pop-out. This is something that's going to give users the ability to preview and compare data in separate browser windows. So if I click on that now, you see for that particular delivery, I bring up a separate browser window and I can look at the details. Okay. For any Data Express customers that we may have on the webinar, this is an extremely useful feature, something that our beta sites were really excited about. Because what it's going to do is give you the ability to compare and analyze multiple HL7 messages. Okay. Now, prior to this version of CDS, as many of you know, creating an advanced search was not a simple process for you. It also was difficult because you couldn't save the advanced searches that you set up, and you had to recreate them each time. So with CDS4, you know, we heard that pain point, and we significantly improved advanced search. So now, to access advanced search, it's very simple. You're just going to click on the advanced search command. It's going to be the upper right-hand corner of the screen, by the arrow here. Once you click on that, it's going to bring up the Edit Advanced Search dialog box. So you'll see in that box, I can name this particular advanced search. So in this case, I'm naming it failed. Okay? And then I'm going to be able to go through and add filters. So I can sort of determine what level of details or what deliveries, what information do I want to see. So once I go through and add those filters, then I can come down and I can actually save that filter and save that advanced search. So once it's been done, you'll see now under the deliveries view, you have failed fax and failed MLLP, for example. The real benefit is it's going to save your users time, because if there's certain searches that they use on a daily basis, they can come in here, create the advanced search, have it saved, and every time they log on to Communication Director and come into SAM, they're going to be able to access that search with the click of a mouse. Okay. So for those of you who have routing, you'll notice that we've simplified the application. One of the things that we've done is we've separated out recipients, sources, and routes. You're also going to notice that you now have the ability to view all of the shared routes and sources right within the navigation bar. So if you look here under shared routes, we've got all PDF, default fax, etc. All that information is available now. Okay. Another thing is, obviously as before, you can go in and you can edit your recipients. But when you go in and edit a recipient, with the flattened view, you're going to be able to bring out and look at all of the routing details and all of the shared routes associated with that recipient. We've also added some drag and drop functionality to routing, and it's a new feature and hopefully a great time saver for you. So you can now take a particular recipient, click on them, and you can drag and drop them into the shared routes that you want to add them to. Okay. So looking at routing, you can see it's the same functionality you had before, but what we've done is hopefully provided a more streamlined workflow for you to work with. So that covers the basic highlights and features for our applications, and with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Michael.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Janine. Again, what we tried to cover in today's webinar were really just some of the key highlights, and what we hope we've done is given you a number of different reasons why you'll want to consider upgrading to the new platform. So as we kind of covered in the webinar, the first being faster performance, again, both in system throughput and database. And as I mentioned prior, there's also the added efficiencies of queuing and less memory overhead. The second really is just better accessibility with more flexible authentication. So the ability to allow a user to access only the applications that they're authorized to use, appearing as tabs in the user interface. Next is really the capability to add Data Express to your Communication Director system, again allowing you to automatically route HL7 data to physician EMRs. This really makes CDS a more comprehensive solution for your data exchange and distribution needs. And then last but certainly not least, of course, is the simplified, clean-looking, browser-based UI, again delivering the efficiency and the ease of use for the end user. So that concludes the prepared remarks on the webinar. At this point, I'd like to turn things back over to Audrey. Audrey's going to moderate us through the Q&A portion. Thank you.
Great. Thank you to both of you. And I did want to mention that our implementation schedule is filling up quickly, so many customers are already scheduling their upgrades. So if an upgrade is something that you think your organization might be considering, just make sure to work with us so that we can get that on the calendar. And before we get to the Q&A, I do want to quickly review some next steps with you. If you want to get more information on the new Communication Director version 4, you can go to our website and just navigate to the Communication Director page, and you'll see a whole bunch of documentation on what's new. You can also find a direct link to schedule a demo with one of our sales representatives. And as we mentioned before, this webinar is just a taste, so we do encourage you to schedule some time with your representative to get a live demo of the product. We have some questions coming in, so we're going to do our best to answer as many as we can in the time we have remaining. If we don't get to your question, we'll go ahead and answer that individually as soon as the webinar is over. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and pass this first question to Janine. Janine, there's been a couple of questions that have come through on whether or not current settings will migrate over if they decide to upgrade to the version.
Okay, thanks, Audrey. Yes, the answer is yes. So all of your existing configurations, which include your personal phone books, are going to migrate over. So when you get ready for your upgrade and you talk to your account rep, they're going to go through all of that with you and discuss that. But yes, everything's going to migrate over.
Okay, great. And there's a question about virtual environments. Will Communication Director 4 be able to run on a virtual environment?
Okay. Again, the answer to that is yes. So customers are going to have the option of hosting everything on a virtual server with Communication Director 4.
Okay. There's a question, Michael, I think I'll have you answer this one about Data Express, and wondering, someone's wondering, we have your Data Express product. Is there an upgrade available for that as well?
Yeah, it's a great question, not something that we touched on in detail in today's webinar, but we do have Data Express 4 available as well. So if there are customers that only have Data Express, then there is an upgrade available to them, and they're going to realize many of the same browser-based UI, performance enhancements, plus a few additional improvements that we've made specific to Data Express. So for those with an existing Data Express solution, I guess we'd encourage you to set up some time to talk to us about what's new with that particular product, and then consider scheduling an upgrade. Again, I kind of touched on this during the webinar, but for those who just have Communication Director and don't have Data Express, so as we mentioned, you now have the option to include Data Express as an add-on to your CDS upgrade. So it's definitely something that's worth considering.
Okay, great, thank you. And Janine, there's been a couple questions too about the printer stack, the print driver. Does that still need to be installed on individual machines? Can you touch on that lightly?
Yeah, absolutely, Audrey. That's a great question, something we certainly didn't cover during the webinar today, but yes. In CDS4 now, you do have to download the desktop fax print driver, and it's actually a very simple process. So when you go into desktop fax, there's going to be a configuration view, and in there you're going to have there's going to be an option in there where you can click to download that desktop fax client. So it's simply done through the application. Again, when you get ready to do an upgrade, you're going to be working with your client services team, and they're going to walk you through that and make sure that you have all the information you need to do that.
Okay, great. And Janine, here's another one. If I have a vendor phone book local on my machine, can I now create a group and assign users to it?
Yes, another great question. So during the webinar, we talked a little bit about the new workgroup phone book feature and functionality, and yes, this is part of that new functionality. So you're going to be able to take that vendor phone book you have now and create it in the workgroup phone book on CDS4, and then share it out to any of the individuals that you wish to have access. In addition, you're also still going to be able to maintain your own personal phone book, so that'll be kept separate.
Okay, great, thank you. And I think we have time for one more question. Again, if we didn't get to your question, we will respond to you individually. We have a record of all the questions that have been coming in. Michael, I'll have you take this one. You mentioned that this version offers improved performance. In what way have you improved performance?
Sure. We touched on a couple of those things during the webinar. Some additional things, however, are that CDS4 uses SQL Server 2008 R2 Express or Full. So what this basically means is that it increases database performance, it increases capacity from 4 gigabytes to 10 per database. Additionally, it loads data sets more efficiently, which improves processing time, results in more efficient queuing. So Janine kind of touched on that during the webinar with the pagination discussion. And then another way is it offers improved security, again, with more flexible authentication.
Okay, great. Thank you. And unfortunately, that's all we have time for. We do want to respect your time today. So again, we will follow up individually with those whose questions didn't get answered. We're also going to be, we've recorded today's session, and we're going to be sending out a link to all of you of the recording so that you can share with colleagues in your organization or just review it for yourself. So we thank you again for attending, and reach out to your account representative with any additional questions or to set up some time to get a demo or a proposal. And that concludes today's webinar.